What's good, y'all? It's the Demouchets REACT, and we're back with another video. Who we got today, C?
Today we're back with another American reaction.
Let's get
Super excited about this video. If you're new to us and we're new to you, make sure you scroll down,
hit that subscribe button,
and turn on the post notification bell
because we're on the road to 200K.
And we cannot get there without you guys, all right? Join the family. Without further ado, let's get into the video.
Guys, it's Dina, and this is part 2 of our series, What the U.S. Can Learn from Other Countries. Today, we're looking at Uruguay's progressive policies and the powerful lessons it could teach the U.S. about democratic leadership and political participation.
Okay. It's a whole series.
With a population of just 3.5 million, Uruguay is a small country, but a civil rights giant. Nearly 99% of its population could read and write as of 2018, courtesy of Uruguay's free public education, which ranges from elementary school all the way to university. Around 87% of the population over 65 is covered by the national pension system. And more than 90% of Uruguayans have access to running water, electricity, and sanitation. Marriage equality, abortion, and the controlled growing and selling of cannabis were all legalized between 2012 and 2013. Most recently, in 2018, Uruguay passed a law that defines gender-affirming surgery and hormone therapy as a right, making sure that these treatments get paid for by the state. And this year, Parliament is discussing a bill to legalize euthanasia and assisted suicide. A recent poll found that 62% of the population is in favor of assisted suicide and 82% support euthanasia. All these initiatives are extraordinary because we're talking about a region that's largely conservative. The Catholic Church...
I don't even know if I want to talk about that.
Do you need me to play it back?
Dang, like that's different.
Let me play it back.
That's okay. So is that if something is like
Assisted
medically wrong or just
suicide? 62% support. Is this more like pulling the plug type of thing?
That's what I'm saying.
It's like, oh, I'm thinking about like elders when they're ready to go, they can just say, hey, you could hook me up and pull my plug.
Oh wait, no, I wasn't talking about. I was thinking like people who don't want to be revived, resuscitated.
Ain't that the same as pulling the plug?
Like you can like something's medically wrong, but it
has something medically have to be wrong for it to happen. You think? I'm thinking they just got the option to say, I'm done. But they have to be on a hospital bed for that option. I don't know. But I'm kind of put two and two together with common sense.
Listen.
What's the age of this
what's
group?
The ruling and the laws and as Americans, that is a foreign concept. Kind of like just putting it out there just put it. She just threw it at us.
What's the age with that one? Yeah. Some people probably heard it and heard over it, not even like one ear and out the other. But there's usually an age group that usually, fit into these categories. So 62% can be a high age group.
But even then, like if nothing is wrong other than, mental health.
What they mean assisted? I'm just, like I said earlier, I'm just mentioning off of that one little phrase there.
She threw it.
Pull the plug.
She threw it.
Yeah.
She said,
glue us
and
together.
Tried to run over.
Just try to talk about it.
Ooh.
Favor of assisted suicide and 82% support euthanasia. All these initiatives are extraordinary because we're talking about a region that's largely conservative. The Catholic Church has had a strong influence on politics ever since Spain colonized the region in the late 15th century. So how did this tiny country, sandwiched between giants Brazil and Argentina, manage to become this progressive? The country's most significant moves were taking religion out of politics and building a welfare state.
This movement, or this welfare state, had a strong leader that had a very advanced set of ideas at the time.
The strong leader Professor Arocena is referring to is this man, José Valle y Ordóñez. Many of Uruguay's progressive traditions can be traced back to his secular government of the early 1900s, which abolished the death penalty, legalized divorce, introduced women's voting rights, and expanded workers' rights by implementing 8-hour workdays. a pension system, and unemployment compensation. Not only did this period of time lay the foundation for today's welfare state, it also passed on its secular spirit all the way to modern-day Uruguayan society.
Religion plays a very small role in public life in our country. Religiosity now in Uruguay is strongly associated with some personal belief, not much linked to an institutional church.
Preaching religion in public schools was and still is prohibited, but students are allowed to miss school for religious holidays. Christmas Day is celebrated as Family Day. Three Kings Day, a widely celebrated day by Catholics in Latin America, is Children's Day. Easter, it's called Tourism Week, but that doesn't mean Uruguayans aren't religious.
Almost 90% of the population believe in some God, only 10% of atheists.
It just means that in Uruguay, religious institutions don't influence politics as much as they do in other countries, and that's partly why it's been able to build a solid democracy over time. Uruguay is currently...
That's interesting.
It is.
It's
Truly
interesting,
is.
but even as a Christian, I can understand, for just changing of the names for everyone else, but still being able to celebrate it in the way you want to celebrate it. Like, I can understand that. That's just like in the same way we don't have to say we're celebrating Columbus Day anymore.
But they call it Columbus Day.
Yeah, but we have a proclamation now that is Indigenous Peoples Day. And that is the air freshener.
Yeah, gotta keep it fresh.
Yeah, so that's in the same way that I never did celebrate.
It definitely sounds like they're moving with the times and they're catering to the people.
Yeah.
190%.
Separating church.
Yeah, and they trying to make it as balanced as possible.
Yeah.
Like they're really moving with the times. However, the people are growing, they're moving with that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's different, mad different.
I
Could be
agree with
confusing
that one.
for somebody who moves there. Because, especially if you move from the States, for instance, because how everything is now, religion will be taking out a lot of stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Days and holidays will be called different stuff for you at around these times.
But it will be celebrated during the same time, so it won't be that differently. You can celebrate it in the way that you want to celebrate it.
Right. And is it more of a
public
public celebration as well? Or
Well, everyone, Christmas Day is reserved as Family Day. I
how
think it
do
was called
people
Family Day. Yeah.
move with the times? Like are y'all in disagreement with what y'all see when people do stuff that's not...
Well, it was voted in, babe, so it don't look like it was a disagreement.
You're right. Or was it? Okay.
Well, it got passed, so...
Yeah.
Currently the 15th most democratic country in the world, and it's recognized as a full democracy by the Economist's Democracy Index.
Cool.
The US, on the other hand, ranks 25th and is considered a flawed democracy. And it may not come as a surprise that this has a lot to do with political participation. The average voter turnout in Uruguay is around 90%.
Oh, that's
Why?
so good.
Because unlike in the US, voting there is compulsory.
Es un mecanismo del voto obligatorio de construcción de virtudes cívicas, de construcción de ciudadanos involucrados, de ciudadanos activos, de ciudadanos críticos.
And it doesn't only change the way voters behave, but political parties as well.
El voto obligatorio obliga a los partidos a pensar en todos, a hablarle a todos,
Yeah.
a escuchar a
mentioned.
todos, porque el voto del más rico vale lo mismo que el voto del más pobre, ¿no?
That's important.
Yeah.
Entonces, el voto obligatorio también contribuye a incrementar el poder político de los pobres, el poder político de los excluidos.
Another skill Uruguayans have honed well to get to this point is the art of distributing power.
Si se quiere construir una nación en paz, si se quiere construir una nación incluso progresista, no hay que concentrar el poder. Y Uruguay eso lo hizo muy bien. Si tú tenés buenas instituciones, podés evitar que un gobernante mal inspirado o con ideas equivocadas haga daño.
The intense nationalism you often see in Latin America and in the US is a rare sight in Uruguay.
These strong emotions that people put into charismatic and populist leaders in Uruguay, it doesn't work. Our culture is not kind of in tune with these kind of expressions of emotions. It comes from reality.
Come on, man.
From having these two very strong powers beside us. We ground our nationalism in soccer, in football. Yes, we are very, very, very nationalist.
But this doesn't mean that Uruguay is a utopia. Despite certain successes, in many areas, there's still a lot of work to do. Racism towards Uruguay's black communities, which account for nearly 10% of the country's total population, remains pervasive. Nearly 19% of black Uruguayans live in poverty. The poverty rate of white Uruguayans, in contrast, is 7.4%.
You have to be very narrow-minded not to recognize that Uruguay had and still has a problem of racism towards the black population.
Most of Uruguay's black population are descendants of enslaved people who came through the port of Montevideo, Uruguay's capital, during the colonial period. The Spanish crown had designated this port as a hub for slave trade in the region.
People thought that there was no racism in Uruguay. But once data started to be produced, it was very evident that black population had the worst incomes, lived in the worst neighborhoods, had the lowest life expectancy, and they all said they suffered some kind of discrimination because of skin color during their lives.
Violence against women and femicides are on the rise, with at least 30 femicides recorded in
before we go to women.
Slavery. At that time in history, you guys, you have to understand, even coming out of that, we were not liked. We were being pushed to the side where everyone else was being taught. I'm talking about mentally taught to not like or to disown a black person. That's history for us. You know what I'm saying? That's just everywhere. You know what I'm saying? I don't want nobody to be like, oh, that wasn't everywhere. There's going to be locations where racism is well hidden, well disguised, and well dressed.
Yes.
But that don't mean it doesn't exist, or at one point in time it wasn't a thing where it was birthed. So,
right, it's hard for us to hear. You know, on one hand, it's in that Uruguay. I feel like I'm pronouncing it wrong.
Sound like you said it wide. Like,
why?
Yeah, Uruguay.
But it sounds like, you know, it's a peaceful nation. It's a full democracy. The politicians listen to everyone. But how is it really for the black people? Do the black people feel heard?
Yeah.
I don't know how long ago this video was, but what is life like for an average black person in 2023 going into 2024?
Yeah.
Is the wealth gap still like that? Do they still make up majority of the poverty?
Are they still dealing with discrimination?
Right. So how is life like for our people?
Yeah. Oh.
18. It's the 9th highest rate among Latin American and Caribbean countries, higher than Mexico and Brazil. And in recent years, significant increase in crime has led to public concern over safety.
And it's about women?
A record 400. It's the 9th highest.
Because of skin color during their lives.
Violence against women and femicides are on the rise, with at least
Violence?
30 femicides recorded in 2018. It's the 9th highest rate among Latin American and Caribbean countries, higher than Mexico and Brazil. And in recent years, significant increase in crime has led to public concern over safety. A record 414 murders were reported in 2019, a 45% increase from the year before. It's clear that Uruguay's progressive politics have their limits, but there are a few areas where the U.S. could learn from the country's successes in democracy and civil rights.
Baby, hold up, wait a minute.
Woman,
What
that's
we
crazy.
learning if that's a norm?
That's crazy. It increased 45%. That's crazy.
What is there to, baby? I'll stop listening. What is there to learn? I don't want to learn nothing.
What is there to be mad at when it comes to women? At the end of the day, like, whatever. If anything, a woman is the only being on this earth that can give back to earth, to repopulate it. So how are we angry at the one who actually gives all life to people walking around. I'm confused at that.
Baby, look, after this video,
Bro.
first of all, I got 2 stripes against me. I'm black and I'm a woman, baby. Uruguay will not see me.
It's like,
He will not.
there's a nail in the road. You keep stepping on it. Change the boot. No, take the nail out the road. Like, how y'all mad at the boot for not being? It don't make sense to me. It don't make sense.
Over the past century.
I don't want us to learn nothing.
One of the weaknesses nowadays of the political system in the United States is the not mandatory election. Between 60 and 50% of the population votes for the presidential elections. I think it's very, very low. And I think it weakens the way the Americans select and elect their presidents.
Compulsory voting means that most Uruguayans have a say in the direction their country takes. Uruguay's progressive politics are driven by a belief in principles that go beyond parties and politicians. So what are those principles? The value of equality and good politics.
Yo creo que lo que caracteriza a Estados Unidos es una profundísima comprensión del valor de la libertad. Allá en Estados Unidos aman la libertad y no se dan cuenta a veces, no comprenden el valor inmenso que tiene la igualdad, incluso para hacer posible la libertad. ¿Podemos enseñar a construir un estado de bienestar? Sí. ¿Podemos enseñar el valor de la igualdad? Sí. ¿Podemos enseñar que es posible hacer política que no sea House of Cards? ¿Podemos enseñar que se puede hacer política sobre la base de principios, de creencias, de valores, de ideales? ¿Podemos enseñar una manera más digna de pensar en la política? ¿No? Sí, eso sí lo podemos enseñar.
All right, guys, I want to stop it right there. Teaching people how to have equality.
How?
If I feel like with the main 2 things that, Uruguay
You asking the wrong one. I think
was
I said
dealing
it
with, I mean, at the beginning we all understood what that one was.
Everything
you
was
guys can definitely
good till we got to the real
bring us
issues.
up to speed with that. But when it comes to black people still suffering and violence and inequalities, if I'm not mistaken, on women, those 2 alone is like, that's crazy.
I'm over here shaking in my boots.
That's crazy.
Cause what?
I don't know. I feel like teaching people equality is one thing, but I think people know what equality means. I think we all understand what can happen.
Right. We all are aware of the issues.
I think we're aware. Everyone is aware.
We're aware of the rich versus poor. We're aware of the wealth gap between the races. We're aware of the minority issues. We have a lot to deal with, but I could tell you one thing, baby. I have a lot of opportunities to create the life I want to live here. And I'm not fearing for my life because I'm a woman. Yeah, everything, it sounded good till we got to the real issues at the end. At first I was clapping for Uruguay, but then once it got to the real stuff, I'm sitting here as a black woman.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. They messed my head up with that one. Messed my head up. Yeah. All right, y'all. So we hope you guys enjoyed this video with us. Like this video, subscribe, turn on the post notification bell. We have enabled our super thanks if you like to support the channel that way, as well as our reaction request forms in our description box below. We'll see you soon.
Peace.